Last night I saw you standing, and I started pretending I knew you, and you knew me too. And just like a romance, you were too shy, but you weren't the only, 'cause so was I. And I dreamed of you ever since. Now I build up my confidence that next time you come my way, I know just what to say. Can we talk for a minute? Girl, I want to know your name. Can we talk for a minute? Girl, I want to know your name. I started to write you letters, but I wanted to be more clever. I wanted to get down and sweet talk you, baby. But just like a baby, I could not talk, and I tried to come closer, but could not walk. And I think of it every night, how I just could not get it right. Oh, if we ever come close again, I know what I'll say then, yeah. Can we talk, baby, can we talk for a minute? Girl, I wanna know your name. Can we talk for a minute, baby? Girl, I want to know your name. Oh, girl, one more chance with you again. I will not let it go. Please give me just one more chance for love. Yeah, yeah, baby. Girl, I want to know. I wanna know your name. Can we talk for a minute, baby? Girl, I wanna know your name. Baby, come on and talk to me, baby. Come on and talk to me, baby. I wanna know your name. I wanna know your name. Like, can we talk for a minute? Come on and talk to me, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Yeah. I said, can we talk for a minute? Come on and talk to me. I said, talk to me for a minute. Come on and talk for a minute. I wanna know your name. Talk to me for a minute. Come on and talk for a minute. Come on.
All right. Hello. Welcome back to Journeys and Ambitions. My name is Abby, and this is
Jennifer.
And today we are going to talk about, tell me what we're going to talk about, Jennifer.
Well, we're going to talk about dating and relationships and all those little sticky situations you get yourself into or get yourself out of. I mean,
Yes.
whatever the case may be.
In light of it being Valentine's Day, we are going to be talking about relationships. So, what inspired us, aside from Valentine's Day, to talk about this, Mom?
Well, I think it's going to be a reoccurring subject, but definitely is on the Love and Victory show.
Oh, yes. We are on LV with Val Radio. Don't forget to download the LV with Val app. We have music for you guys 24/7. Other talk shows going on as well. LV with Val Radio. Don't forget.
I think I'm having a hot flash or something right now too. It's really warm in here. Or maybe it's the subject matter. Not really sure. So I actually got some requests from some friends. Of course, not really understanding the premise of the show because they're men. They probably don't watch. But one of them was like, hey, you should have a show about dating in your 40s. And I was like, yeah, well, my daughter's not in her 40s and I'm not sure. So, and various topics where it doesn't really play into the theme. However, we can, alter it and talk about your interpretation of things and mine. And also, Abby did the headliner and stuff, and you put dating in your 20s and your 50s. Mm-hmm. I very much got a text that was like, "Oh, why would your daughter do that? You're not in your 50s." And I was like,
"You are in your 50s."
I'm 50.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh." I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah, I think like when it comes to the subject of dating and stuff like that, I think it has changed over the years. I think there was kind of this like traditional mindset of like, okay, I want to be courted and the man has to pay for everything. And I personally still believe in some of those traditional values when it comes to dating. I believe in not necessarily gender roles, but roles. I think everyone has their role in a relationship. And while some things can be kind of switched off between the two partners, I think things work when people kind of know what their role is. You know what I'm saying? They know what's expected of them. They know how to like please the other person. And I'm not even just talking about like household, like cooking and cleaning versus like all the other. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about roles in the relationship. Like, you might be the type of person where you expect the other person to plan out all the dates. And I think also when you're younger, like my age, you can't expect someone to pay every time either because we're all struggling. We're all struggling.
I can expect it. It doesn't happen, but I can expect it.
Well,
just for clarification, we probably know everybody listening, but if you don't, Abigail is actually in a relationship.
I am in a relationship.
So she'll be speaking from that standpoint.
Yes.
And I am not in a relationship, nor am I actively dating.
Well,
nor am I looking to at this moment in my life. So I'm just going to talk about my experiences and my peers or my friends. So
yeah, and I'm what you would call a serial monogamous. I like to self-proclaimed because I do like to be in a relationship. I think I'm okay being single, but I think what my problem is, and I think a lot of people struggle with this, not necessarily by age or by generation. I think just people in general struggle with like, even when I am single, I like to, have a boo thing, a little someone to crush on, to flirt with, to talk about, to hang out with,
to stress over, to wonder why they haven't called
in a romantic way.
Why haven't they texted back?
And so I think I actually prefer being in monogamous relationships because it's more security. And I like, I think everyone wants, not everyone, but I think a lot of people want to be married one day. They want to like build a family with somebody. And that's definitely a big goal of mine that I think kind of stems from those like traditional values that I've put myself more back into because I used to be like super progressive and be like, I don't even want to be married. I want to live this like hippie life. Not having like a lot of structure, but now I see the value in having structure in your life. And I think having, a relationship can bring structure. Not that you can't find that in other places, but I do think you can find it in having a relationship because you kind of build a routine with that person and it makes things like easier. I don't know.
Sure. It's so cute when you're in your 20s and you think that. I remember when I thought that.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me your
just
piece.
Kidding. No, I think, think that's traditionally what you want when you're younger.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of went through a thing where I didn't want that either, but my parents, present moment, have a combined 7 marriages.
Oh,
just saying.
Oh,
so I'm not quite there yet, but I'm working on it. Never quit.
Yeah,
I'm not a quitter. Just kidding. But so I didn't really see really a healthy marriage until later. Like their marriage is now. Maybe because they don't have any children. I don't
Yeah.
really know.
So you think children complicate things?
I think no, I don't know, but I think blended families can be complicated.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, I wouldn't have at one time had a problem with that, like having stepchildren, but I think that's because I was a stepchild.
Yeah.
So it's very open to that. That didn't happen. And now I'm at the age where I don't really, want to keep raising small children. But
that's true. Yeah.
Not that I would completely count it
So
out.
how does that work? Like, because you are in your 50s, you're 50 years old, and you're dating men who are in their 40s and 50s, that, you know what I mean? And who probably...
I have not dated anybody in their 50s.
Anyways, but how does that work, like, when they have kids? You know what I mean?
It's a little different for traditionally, right?
Yeah.
Predominantly when you're a woman and you're dating a man, most of the time they don't have full custody or they don't have their children full time.
Yeah.
I'm saying most of the time. I have not been with anybody who like had custody of their kids, right? So,
Like
whenever
custody, you mean?
Full custody.
Yeah.
So, I've dated. I guess I've only dated one person with kids. No, that's not true. Anyway, long enough to meet their kids.
Just what's your opinion on it, whether from experience or not?
I enjoyed it, but
Mhm.
I only had to be a fun parent, right? Because we weren't married, so it didn't last that long. So I was like the fun girlfriend every other weekend, and I liked the kids. So I had a good time because I only have you, and you were older, so I got to experience like having boys, and more than one, and it was a whole different experience, and I didn't have to discipline. I didn't have to do it full time. I didn't have to own that responsibility.
Yeah.
So I feel like step parenting could be a good time, but I also realize I haven't really experienced it like full time.
Right. And I have a friend who is in a relationship, and she is in a place in her life where she wants to get married and have kids. Her partner already has a child and isn't really parenting the child.
Mm.
And so she's kind of in a place where she's like, and she's a little bit older than me. She's not quite Gen Z, I wouldn't say. But she's in a place where, like, if he's not parenting the child he has now, why would I have children with him?
Right.
And I think, to me, if I were to date someone with kids, and which I'm not opposed to, I would.
Do you mean parenting, or do you mean like supporting, or both?
I don't think they're in the life. Like, I don't think they're involved.
Oh, at all? Okay.
Yeah. At a very low capacity.
I think that would depend on the reasoning behind that.
That to me is a turnoff. I would not be opposed to dating someone with kids. I've never been in that situation. I just never have like gone that far with somebody who had a child. But I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it would 100% be a deterrent if that person wasn't parenting their child. I would 100% want to be like, well, I don't know. And I think there's like this situation too, where like a lot of like women maybe expect the man to like put them first above their kids. And that is where I think things get kind of like sticky about what's it called? What was I talking about? Sorry. I'm reading comments.
I know, I got distracted too.
I think that can get complicated because you should want your partner to put their child first, but you also want them to put your relationship at a high priority too. But in the end of the day, children.
But I'm going to come from the perspective of the child because I'm a professional stepchild.
Okay.
I mean, and now that I'm an adult, right? Why would you be in competition with a child?
Right.
You should not be in a situation where you feel like your mate is putting their child ahead of you. Like, I don't even know what that looks. I can't even imagine. What does that look like? Time? Well, if they're a non-custodial parent, they only have 4 days a week. Give them all 4 days if you need to. You got them the rest of the, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know what that was. I'm trying to look at like my past and my step parents and what they would have felt that my parent did for me that was over them. And I was a child. First of all, you're an adult.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you need from your spouse, take care of it.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm gonna get, I'm gonna get canceled because people are gonna say the Bible says that your spouse is, and I get it, okay.
And to a certain
But-
degree, I think you do have to put your relationship at a high priority because eventually your kids are gonna go off and live their own life. So
Sure.
if you've spent your entire life putting all your energy and all your time into your children, when your children leave, your relationship is gonna suffer.
And that indeed did happen to me.
And that's
Just
that's
kidding.
the person that you're supposed to theoretically, traditionally spend the rest of your life with. So I do think with anything in life, there needs to be a balance. I think you should put your children's needs. I think when it comes to step parenting, like if you are not with your children's biological parent, I think it's very easy to because we all have gone through the honeymoon phase where you're like really into somebody and you're like, oh, I want to spend all my time with them, I want to give them everything, and but if you have humans to raise, you can't be as involved in the honeymoon phase as maybe you feel like you want to be. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because there's a whole other person or people that literally lean on you for complete
And
support.
so now let's go back to men.
Okay, yeah, let's stay away from
Okay, so now
parenting,
we're
'cause
gonna
I don't know anything about parenting.
So we're gonna come to this, women, whether we're well, I mean, I don't know if I can say that. Okay. We generally will not, we're in or out if a man has kids, right? We're pretty much like, oh, I'm not dating him because he has
You have
kids.
a strong stance
Yeah,
on that.
or
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me, right? Men, I feel, have some sort of stigma on the single mom.
Especially if they're receiving child support.
Yeah, they have some sort of she's just lazy sitting around collecting her checks, single mom, and some sort of, I don't know. I don't know why that is, but a lot of times that doesn't keep them from wanting to hook up with her.
Yeah.
Because you know where you're going to find her every night because she's going to be home with kids. And, and I feel like they still, and this is not always because I was a single mom who did get married. But it is sometimes looked at like they're kind of used goods or something
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they shouldn't value. And okay, so I have a text message. I'll pull it up while you're saying something from a man who had a bold statement. I don't think he's listening, but if he is, I won't name you. You're not going to get a good reaction though.
Go for it.
Anyway, he's who talked about, he wanted me to bring up, what do women actually bring to the table?
Oh.
And I don't want to misspeak on what the conversation was. So you go ahead. You tell me what women bring to the table, Abby.
I think it's hard to say what women as a whole bring. I think each individual person brings something different to the table. I think women are more nurturing, obviously, like biologically, we just kind of have that in us. I think nowadays, I think it used to be, if we're thinking back in the day, right? Men would make all the money and the women would be a homemaker, a child care person, and all the things. I think nowadays women are also making the money and still expected to keep a home 100%, still expected to cook, to clean, to raise the children while also having a full-time job. I think men are now used to the idea of women working and women bringing in income, and they all want to go 50-50 on the money, but they don't want to go 50-50 on the household, on the other 10 million aspects of building a life with somebody. They don't want to split that 50-50.
Right.
Which pisses me off.
Well, let me okay, so this is more about just dating in general, not relationships.
Spark notes, mommy.
What does that mean?
Quickly.
Okay. Wish I had my glasses on. Just figured out a good subject, one of your podcasts. What does a woman truly bring to the table? Let that resonate, not personal, but in society. I'll be happy to contribute. And I said, a two-part? Because what is a man?
Right. What do men bring to the table? That's
a huge generalization, as all men and women are not the same. It sounds like someone pushed your buttons. That's what I said. He says, okay, you could do a two-part, but you would need a man to contribute. No, I really don't, because this is a show about our opinions.
Right.
So I really don't need a man. Anyway, hold on. Something that's been resonating for a while. I have girls that think I should chase after them and do all these things to win them. Yes. But if you break it down, what do they bring to the table? X number of kids, debt, and own nothing. What do I bring? None of that. Zero debt, huge bank account, own my own house, cars, etc. Good looking. Okay. He's all right. Great job, blah, blah. It's a good conversation to be had. And I said, it 100% goes either way. My experience as a man also wants to be chased. I did say some. Can I say?
No, well, let's wrap this up.
And I
Molly.
said, and they want the goods with no effort.
Right. And I feel like that is funny to me, because why are you as a man, if we're talking about traditional values, right? Why are you as a man upset that a girl doesn't have money or a home? As a man, you're supposed to provide that. So if you want to talk about what women bring to the table.
So I'm not going to read it anymore, but he goes on to say, there's these 25-year-old girls that have 3 kids and they don't make any money, and they inflate their worth. They need to come back down and realize they're not worth that much. To which I responded, first of all, why do you want a 25-year-old girl? Because you're like almost 50.
Value in money. There's this whole thing, and I'm sure, and I know Gen Z will know what I'm talking about. There's this podcast. I forget what it's fucking called. It's stupid, but it's this whole podcast of this man that's talking about with Andrew Tate. Y'all know who Andrew Tate is. Talking about being a high value man.
Right.
And they pretty much think that men are innately more valuable than women because of finances, which the world has been set up that way. So to a certain degree, yes, I think men obviously make more money. Men are seen as more valuable when it comes to like corporate life and like career and stuff like that. I do believe that is changing. It has changed and it's going to continue to change. And I think I've personally only ever had female bosses. And I personally always worked better with women than with men. And I respect women more than I respect men. But that's another story for another day. But so if you're placing your value on like monetary things, which I don't think women should do either. You shouldn't seek after, and we'll read comments here in a second, but you shouldn't seek after a man because of the money he has, because there's plenty of rich men out there that can provide for you. But are they going to treat you?
But are there? I don't think there really are.
Are they going to treat you right? I don't know. I think people go into relationships for the wrong reasons. I think they go in because they want, and I think I kind of touched on this earlier, you want stability, you want structure. And I do think that is an aspect of it.
Well, my response, sorry.
I'm not done.
We do this a lot.
I think, as cheesy as it sounds, be in a relationship for love. Love isn't enough. I don't think love is enough. I think those other things play a part because we live in a society where all those other things matter. But if you're going into a relationship because you want a roommate, or because you want someone to go 50-50 with you, or you want someone to raise your kids or cook you meals,
For sure.
that you are not going into relationships for the right reasons. I also talk about, with like just conversations that I have, when people want to get married, they want to get married for the wedding, not for the marriage.
Ooh, yeah, that's a young girl thing.
That's very much a young girl thing.
It might be an older girl
I want the ring, and I want this big old party, this big old wedding. And it's like, okay, well, what happens the day after the wedding?
Yeah, I got 2 rings in a box. Just
what happens after that? You're stuck with this person that you maybe don't even like that much because you wanted the attention of a marriage or of a wedding, and you wanted this big old party, you wanted this big old celebration, which I can like relate to, but it's a lot more serious than I think people take it. And
well, we're doing that though with the media and with the fairy tales, and I mean that's the end
like
game,
Cinderella,
right?
Yeah,
it ends
like
at the
that.
wedding.
Yeah.
Then what? I mean, so that's our goal ingrained in us as young girls, is that's the end game, right? But it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not happily ever after. Try it a couple times. Just kidding. That shouldn't be the goal, but I'm just saying.
Well, I think that's kind of how
playing to win.
I've been listening to this other podcast. It's called the Comfort Level Podcast. Y'all should listen to it on YouTube. It's actually really good. They do like the Am I the Asshole segment, which I do. We might incorporate here because I really enjoy that. But a lot of these people on Reddit kind of like, if someone's complaining about their partner, they're saying like, oh, did I do this wrong? A lot of people are so quick to be like, well, divorce.
Oh, for sure. And
which I do think there's a reason for. I'm not against divorce. I'm not against that. If people want to, if they feel like their relationship is no longer healthy for them or it's no longer serving them and they don't see it getting better, and you genuinely do not see it getting better, then by all means get divorced. I mean, especially if there's abuse involved,
sure,
or anything of that capacity.
But have you communicated? Have you tried? Have you told the other? This is something I'm finding as I get older. Even in my most recent whatever that was that I just did. Like I know that there was definitely missteps, just depends.
Your last relationship,
My last relationship,
situationship.
my last, yeah, I hate that term, but I
Mhm.
didn't know. I think that's what it was though, based on Webster's. Just kidding. Yeah, there were missteps there because I redated somebody from my past is what happened. And I don't mean like 6 months ago. I mean like years in the past. And we'd see changes both physically and emotionally that we had been through. And then we jumped into it.
Yeah.
The misstep here is we just acknowledge we're not the same people we were. And then we didn't date each other to find out, is this new person someone I want to date?
Well,
We just kind of, the familiarity made us like jump into a situation without really trying to figure out if we wanted to do that.
I do want to talk about that. When people, I call it recycling. When you go back to it, I am 100% against recycling. If I'm done with you, you are dead to me. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you. I will never revisit a past partner. Never. Even like a past hookup. Nope, I don't recycle. If once we did our thing.
If she was old enough, she probably wouldn't rewind before she returned her movies either. What? Be kind, rewind.
Okay, whatever.
You're
yeah. That's some Gen X stuff. But yeah, like I feel like you and I know some other people. I know a lot of people recycle. They go back, and I think there's this whole idea of like, oh, I don't want to catch another body. I want and they don't want to feel used up. I don't agree with that.
I'm
not saying you like that. I'm just saying there are people.
Just because I don't get out much.
But
I feel like the evil that you already know is better than, I don't know. I don't like to get to know people.
But I think you're right. I think there is that sense of like familiarity that feels comfortable. But like, I'm also the type of person where like I won't I've stayed in relationships too long because I wanted to make sure that I did every single thing I could to make it work. So that's why when it's done, it's done. We are done. Once I actually move on, because I've obviously been in the relationships where it's like back and forth. But once I decide we are done and I've exhausted every single tactic, we've gone to therapy, we've done all the things, then I'm done. And I will never revisit that. Because while I do believe people change, I also changed and you are no longer serving me.
But you did that. And I think that's the same thing. Because I think that the reason people go back, AKA this chick, is because there were, I hate this word, but I'm going to say it. There was no closure. There was no resolution.
We don't need closure.
There was unanswered.
Closure's overrated.
I agree with you, but also you're saying you did this, and this. So if you're in a relationship and it ends suddenly with a lot of questions, right? And then down the road, you get this opportunity, use that word lightly, opportunity to revisit it. You have this idea in your head that, well, we're going to try this again because there's all these.
Go ahead. Keep talking.
Because you don't know why it ended. And then I don't know. I think that you're saying, yes, you can turn your head. And I definitely have relationships that are, you are dead to me.
Yeah.
Please don't ever call me. I will act like I don't know who you are.
Right.
But there was either a big blow up or you exhausted all your resources and you're like, nope.
Yeah. And I think I haven't really, and I've been like ghosted before, not been anyone serious, but in like kind of more casual relationships, I've been ghosted. And I think there is a part of you that wants closure. And I think we all need to let that go. You need to let closure go because it is no longer.
Well, there's no such thing as closure.
There is no such thing as closure. And a lot of times you're going to find out things you didn't want to find out.
Facts.
You're going to hurt yourself further. That being said, in my last relationship that ended tumultuously, we tried to break up and I was not letting go because it was very sudden. It was very like, we got in a fight and then suddenly we're broken up. I'm like, I mean, we fight all the time. Why are we breaking up now? And, for a few weeks, I tried to like see what I could do to make it work and talk about things and stuff like that. And I got my closure and I found out that this person had been doing incredibly hurtful things to me and was just, what do they call it? A something liar, pathological liar, lying about anything and everything.
Uh-oh.
Can you guys hear us now? I know you can hear us now. Okay.
No. No?
Hello? Can you hear us?
Well, this is fun.
Still no sound.
Hmm.
Yay. Okay. So they can hear us. Okay, cool.
Oh, we're just behind on the comments.
Yeah. They take a second. Okay. What was it? Oh, so within my last relationship, I got the closure I needed, but it was extremely hurtful. And I found out that this person was a pathological liar and had been, manipulating me by, I'm not going to go into the details, but I found out that a lot of mental and emotional abuse was happening when I got my closure. That being said, I am happy I got that closure because I needed to learn that lesson, and I needed to, because I still kind of saw this person as like, oh, they're the love of my life, and they're so great, and I'm so lost without them. But when I got that closure, I was like, oh no, you're terrible, because I have standards for myself. But you're so blinded sometimes when you're in, and I do want to touch on abusive situations, whether it's emotionally abusive, mentally abusive, or physically abusive. I think it's easy when you really care about somebody and you see the potential in them. I think it's really easy to kind of brush those things off, or maybe you don't notice them.
So I was going to, yeah. So, we've all, well, maybe not all of us. A lot of us have, especially when you get older, have been in not the best relationships, toxic, semi-toxic, whatever the case may be. Right. And you get to my point in life and you're like, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I see that red flag? Why didn't I see this? Why didn't I see? You did.
Mm-hmm.
You did. This last time, I absolutely did. But then I got in my head, like, is it really a red flag, or am I making it a red flag? Am I so messed up from horrible relationships that now I'm making a big deal out of nothing? So this is the most cliche thing you'll ever heard. I see my friend who I tell her this all the time, and I thought it was cliche too. When you are in that relationship and you get out of it, do not get under somebody to get over somebody.
Yeah.
Stay alone.
And
Love your solitude. Enjoy what you enjoy, because only by yourself and doing the things you like can you learn who you are and then know that's not for me.
Well, and I think if a relationship, a long-term monogamous relationship is the end goal for you, you have to, and again, it sounds cliche, you have to like be okay with yourself first and get to know yourself. That being said, I did say in the beginning, I'm a serial monogamist. However, especially in one of my relationships where it's very on and off, I was still, because we were so on and off, and it was not the type of relationship that I would want to have. There were points in time where I did feel alone, and I really do feel like I was able to get to know myself and love myself. I don't think a relationship hinders you from that in itself. I think an abusive relationship hinders you from that. So I think, you talk about high school sweethearts and stuff like that. People have been together their whole lives, like since, they could date, basically. I still think there are people that are in those types of relationships that have had the time to find themselves because they're in a healthy relationship. But when you feel lost and you feel like you don't know yourself anymore, you are more than likely in a relationship that is not serving you. I'm not going to go ahead and say abusive.
It's not balanced. It's just not unbalanced.
It's unbalanced.
And I felt myself early on this time, though. I felt myself like, hey, I need to show interest in him and his interests and his blah, blah, blah. It actually came down to my appearance, like what really sent me over the edge, not like the edge, like I went crazy, but like where I was like, oh, I don't really think this is for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was because I was very much like showing interest in everything, his work and his extracurricular things, which was fun. Was fun. It was not even not focusing. I was, before we started this show, which is about the time that we decided to do this, I was a guest on Val's show and sent him the link that he could not be bothered to watch.
Yeah.
I had a possible option man that liked me, or I thought liked me. Anyway, he watched it.
Mm-hmm.
But the one who wants a relationship with me, the one, he couldn't find time.
Right.
You can listen to it in the car. I mean, like, really? Like,
Yeah.
And it wasn't, it sounds like such a small thing, but it
it's
just
not.
showed me where,
You want to feel supported by the person. You want to feel supported. You want to feel like you want your person to be your biggest cheerleader.
sure.
And
Even if you don't understand it, or you think it's weird, or you're not outgoing and you couldn't sit in front of a microphone for an hour and talk about no script, just talk about whatever comes up, maybe it's not your thing,
yeah, and
Didn't
like,
even know it was my thing till I started doing it. But,
well, and
but
that,
at least,
at least try.
share.
You know what I'm saying? On the Love and Victory show with Val, which y'all know I work for LV Val Radio, the platform in which you are listening to this. On LV with Val Radio, or on the Love and Victory show with Val. Sorry, I'm trying to check something. On the Love and Victory show with Val, my partner watches every single episode. It's every Saturday at 8 a.m. Sometimes they watch it live, and sometimes they sleep in and they watch it later. And like, I never really asked that person to do that.
Right.
Now when they don't, and I'm like, where you at? Wake up. Because we've been together a while. But, it's.
If you're my friend on Facebook, you should have watched it.
And,
that goes to you. You know who I'm looking at.
And it's just, you want to feel supported by that person, and they should want to support you. And if the person is, if you feel a sense of like jealousy, and I'm not talking about jealousy in terms of like, I think jealousy in a relationship is healthy and normal in terms of like, of course you're going to be jealous if your partner, has like, is getting flirted with, you know what I mean? Like, of course, or they're maybe getting attention in a romantic way. Of course, I think that type of jealousy can be healthy in doses. But you should never be like jealous of your partner in the sense of like, oh, well, they're so great and they're accomplishing all these things and I'm not. And so I'm going to tear them down because I don't feel good about myself. And that kind of makes me want to transition into insecurities in relationships.
Well, I want to go back just a second.
Okay.
To the whole what do you bring to the table thing.
Girl, that was okay.
Well, you interrupted me, to be fair. But anyway, no, because what I wanted to say was if the comment was, she should know her worth, that she's not really worth that much. My point being, what do you want her for then? If you're looking at her like she's not a person of worth and you shouldn't have to chase her, move on.
Yeah. That's
or if she's asking you for too much that you don't want to provide, please move on. Because to act like you're going to give that and then show up like that and then drop off, I'm getting petty now. Just keep walking. Don't show me your false interest, love bombing BS. Can I even say the other word? I'm not going to say it.
Go ahead.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Say it, girl.
Don't show up like that. And then once you get whatever it is you think you're after, drop off. And then be mad that we're like, what? Bye. We're not materialistic. You're baiting us with qualities that you don't actually have.
Yeah, there's a certain...
At least we're showing you. And if you don't like the qualities, you think we're full of it, you think we don't bring enough to the table, go to a different damn table. Thank you. Boom.
Mic
That's
drop.
all I got to say.
Well, and I learned this from Stephanie Burrell. She is a friend of LV Val Radio. She said that people put up a representative of themselves for the first 6 months to a year in the relationship. So, this guy might be, whining and dining you. He might be.
I don't think at my age they don't last 6 months. They can't do 6 months.
I think it
3.
depends on the person. But anyways, I think, they might be whining and dining you. And that's where love bombing comes in. And I'm the type of person, I'm susceptible to love bombing because I love attention. And I like to feel loved and I like to feel like adored and admired. And so I'm very susceptible and easy to manipulate in that way because I very much feed into it. I'm like, of course you love me. Of course you love me after a week. And if they don't love me after a week, I'm like, what's wrong with you? What are you struggling with? You don't see everything I have to offer and you're not trying to marry me a weekend. So that's my own toxic trait. But, people do put up a representative of themselves. So if you want to be a healthy person pursuing somebody else, you have to be realistic with yourself and don't set this standard of like, if you can't afford or you don't want to be in a relationship where you're the person paying all the time, set that standard in the beginning. You know what I mean? Kind of like, and have a conversation and maybe pay. I think when it comes to dating, this is just a little tidbit. If you are the person asking the other person out, I don't think it should matter gender. You should pay. If you're the one that's like, let's go out. And I think that's more like in the beginning stages of dating. I think when you're in a relationship, you have more of a system, whatever that system is for that particular relationship. But I think in the beginning, you know, if me and Jennifer are trying to date and I say, "Hey Jennifer, let's go out on a date." I'm going to pay because I'm the one that's asking you out. You know what I'm saying?
She asks me to go out all the time and does not pay, so that's a big lie.
You're my mother. Anyways,
I just thought I'd take
I
that
do want to
opportunity.
segue though, because we have about a little over 15 minutes left.
We gotta do comments too.
Yes, actually, before we move on, I do want to read some comments because we got quite a few comments here throughout the show so far. When we were talking about blended families, Shay said blended families are tough, primarily when you're young. I think, like you said, it is easier when you get older because your kids are more grown, more independent. But if you're younger and your kids are younger, that can definitely have an impact on the relationship. Terry said, children, like many other topics in relationship, are complicated because of our expectations of our partner. Yeah, I agree with that. We have say it louder. Thank you, Abby.
We don't really know what we were saying.
I don't remember, but I'll say it louder. Shay said, women are innately nurturing. We're driven to keep it all together.
We're to be all the things.
We're to be all of the things with all of it together: appearance, emotions, etc. Yeah, watch the
Barbie
movie.
movie.
And then Brittany said, "That's not true. I make about $20K more per year than the man I currently live with," and that is a lot of what's happening.
I have predominantly been made. Well, no, I mean
I think
in my dating. Well, it's also because I usually date younger men, and it does not bother me.
I think it's
at all. I think it bothers them more.
Yeah, I think it affects their masculinity and because I think men do want to provide. I think deep down when we talk about biology and hormones and all the things, I think men, when women are from Mars or men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right? I think men want to provide, but I think society and the media and stuff like that is making them think like, oh no, what do women bring to the table? It's this whole skewed mindset, which if you believe that, fine, believe that, but then find people who also believe that. You know what I'm saying? Like, be with somebody who has the same values as you and don't just jump into these relationships because attraction and lust go so far. Like, so far that you're not, and when you're in that butterflies honeymoon phase, you're not really thinking about, is this person compatible with me? Do we have the same values? Do we believe in the same things? You're more thinking, but they make me feel good. And relationships should make you feel good, but that shouldn't be the only driving factor. And then I'll just continue more comments. Terry said, if more women were paid what the male counterparts are, more women would make more than men. Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think that's probably going to happen at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
In my time at my job, but this in the year and a half, my boss is a woman, but her boss is a man. He's the head of the department. This week, the second male, her boss, got fired.
Mm-hmm.
She, for the months until they hire another man for the will take over the job and do it great.
Right.
Why have they not made her that position? Why do they keep hiring somebody else? Hopefully that'll happen this time because we're all saying it. Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
She does everything.
Well, and there's this kind of like idea that like, because women are more nurturing and typically, regardless of your employment status, are the more family caretakers.
Sure.
And so I think a lot of places see that as like a liability. Like, are you going to call out because your kid or whatever?
I can 100% see that and have used that against other people at some point in my vying for a job as I got older. But this is when you get my age. I mean, I guess potentially you could have grandkids that you help care for or whatever. I mean, I just,
Yeah.
When you're up at that level, maybe of your career, your kids are usually grown if you even have them.
Right.
Right. So.
Brittany said, I used to want closure too, but it's like life's too short to keep wondering.
Sure. But there's no such thing as closure. I just think there's relationships that end so abruptly or over something so small, right? That, and this is my younger mind. Well, not even my younger mind, really. That you kind of think, well, that had we worked on it more, had we talked about it, if we would have had a conversation, maybe that could have been saved. But then you look back and say, but if they were willing to just walk away over a petty then that is the close, right?
That's,
that says
that's
everything.
all you need. Yeah.
So
I think we need to, I don't think, and maybe take back what I said a little bit earlier. I think, and closure is important, but I think we need to find closure in other ways. You're not always going to find closure in a conversation because not everyone can admit, like I said, and this is whenever our audio kind of went out, and I don't know how much y'all heard, but in my last relationship, I did not initially receive closure. And when I finally did, the person was finally honest with me and told me all the hurtful lies and manipulation that was taking place. But not everyone is going to admit that. And in my relationship before that, that person still won't admit to a lot of the things that would happen that I knew were true. So I had to find closure in, you're not always going to find it because that person is going to admit what they did to you.
maybe you don't need to know. I have a friend who's listening that she's in her head about she doesn't know everything. She doesn't know everything. She doesn't know everything. She doesn't know everything. And I'm like, be careful what you wish for, because I didn't even know there was a lot to know in my marriage. And my ex like verbally bled everything, like threw up all over me and just like confessed all his sins. And I was like, stop. Nope, good. I don't want to know anymore. Please stop. I know enough. That's good. So I mean, sometimes just be careful what you wish for. There's things you think you want, and maybe you just need to, and I'm talking to myself right now. You just need to walk away, and you don't need to know why.
Right.
You don't need to know why, because maybe the why is even more hurtful.
Yeah. But it can teach you a lesson. So I think you just have to decide, are you strong enough to know the worst of the worst? They always say what you don't know can't hurt you, but you learn from the hurt and the pain, and you don't make the same mistakes again. So that's up for you to decide. Is this something I can handle? Like, even like going through someone's phone, go through their phone, but first of all, when you do things like that and you snoop, you are going to find something you don't like, even if your partner's perfect, even if you have a perfectly healthy relationship and perfect boundaries.
Because if you find absolutely nothing, they're deleting stuff. That's your mind, though. That's your head.
Well, and you're gonna find something. No one is perfect, right? You're gonna find something that bothers you. Like, why did you text them that? Well, I saw this weird email, and why did you download this app? Like, you're gonna find something that bothers you, and so you need to know if you're gonna do that. I'm not against looking through phones. If you're gonna do that,
if you want to do that, are you in the right relationship?
Are you in the right relationship, and are you in the right state of mind to handle what it is that you see? I want to read another comment.
Okay.
Kristen said, being alone is okay. Getting under someone to get over a relationship will make it worse to move on. Agreed. Terry said, well said, Jennifer.
That was my little mic moment.
Ooh, Kristen has a comment, but before we go to her comment, I want to read, or her question, I mean.
Yeah.
I want to read, Shay said, they can't keep that facade up long. This is when we were talking about the representative. However, be transparent, be realistic of who you really are and what you're looking for. Plain and simple, don't waste one another's time. Agreed. I do also think that is easier said than done. Because I think you also, in a relationship in the beginning, you want to put your best foot forward and you want to be a better version of yourself. But you also, again, being realistic, like what she said, you have to be realistic. Is this something I can upkeep? Right. In the relationship am in now, I've made a lot of changes, both to myself and how I interact, but also just like different habits and things like that. Because the person that I'm with, I saw, I need to step my game up to be with this person because I was with bums before. This person is not a bum. And I was like,
she's a high value. You're a high value woman.
I'm
Abby.
a high value woman. And the person I'm with is also very high value. And so I was like, I can't do this like game playing that I did that worked before because of the people I was with. And so I knew that I had to switch things up, but I also was within my limits. And I'm not going to put up this facade of like, well, I'm this perfectly healthy person. I was very honest and said, well, here's where I fault. Here are my issues. I was very upfront about the serial monogamy. I was very upfront about my own toxic traits. And so while I am putting my best foot forward, I'm also saying like, but don't expect me to be this perfect person because I'm trying to be that for you because I can't upkeep that either.
But again, to go back to that though, not everybody is going to look inward and want to make the changes they need to change.
Right.
So if you go into a relationship or dating somebody that you think you can, there's I can handle that because I can change that. No, you can't. So if there's something you don't like, make sure you can you can look over it. Like it's not paramount. It's not a boundary. Because if the, you know what I mean, you're not going to change that. And I have literally said this. You just said it. I still believe it about myself. You'll probably all do this. I've had a conversation with Gwen. I'm like, we all think we're the one. We all think that we're the one that's going to change you. We all think that if you've never been married, you're going to want to marry me. You know what I mean? We all think that if you're emotionally blocked, not me, you're going to show me emotion because I'm different than all the other women. And girls, we all think that. And we are different from every other woman.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we're the one for them.
Right. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. That just means you're not right for that person.
And also just recently, and I've said this to a couple people, I had this epiphany at 50 years old that where I said, like, what is with these men? Like every single guy that I meet and talk to doesn't know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized
you don't know what you want.
I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
You have to realize that you're attracting what you're, exuding, right? So if you really don't want your want, and you're just kind of flailing around and dating different guys and you have, guess what? That's what you're attracting is somebody else who's like, hopefully I just fall into something. So that's why I said I'm actively choosing to be single and not to date, so that I can figure out what person's going to add to or complete my life, not stress me out or take away from it.
And I think Brittany said, I sure do be thinking that, Jennifer.
And you're right, girl. You are right.
Yeah.
But to the right guy,
Well, and I think that goes back to being intentional. I think a lot of times, and I think the younger generation has also kind of, had this more free spirit mindset, which I'm all down for. But there is value in being intentional and being intentional in your dating, being intentional in every single thing you do. How many times do you do anything and you're like, well, I don't really know. I've just always done that. I just do it because XYZ. Whether it be like a habit or maybe a person that you talk to or whatever, right? I think it's important to be intentional. And I used to be kind of not really, I was kind of like against religion because I was like, well, it's all these silly rules for no reason. But then I realized like, no, there's intention behind it. If you're following these rules because you're supposed to follow the rules, maybe you don't have the right mindset. But there is intention behind those things.
And intentions change. When I first split up with my my ex-husband, I would have told you there's no way in hell that I would ever get married again. I've already done it twice. I certainly am not going to go for time number 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that anymore. I'm not looking for a husband, but I think it could be back on the table because I think I do want, a partner that I know is going to be there to live out the rest of my days. Right.
Well,
plus third time's a charm. I'm just,
and you need to take the time, and not just you, everybody,
Mm-hmm.
like when you're going into a relationship or, you need to figure out what it is that you want. What, like, do you want? And don't just switch what you want based on what the other person wants.
Sure.
I think a lot of people do that because they don't want to be lonely. And if that is your want, that's a starting point. I do think that's a starting place to be like, well, I just don't want to be alone. That doesn't mean jump into something, but that means maybe there's something else that you need to do so that you don't feel alone. Surround yourself with friends, surround yourself with family, and then figure out how can because being alone, you can't rely on anyone to be there all the time, always. People fall ill. People, they could pass away. People, they could just also not be in your life anymore for whatever reason, for a number of reasons. Because you can't put that pressure on somebody to always be there.
And, I think we could get kind of offended by this. And I think you just have to be fair with the other person and fair with yourself. I told a man fairly recently that I'd seen a couple times who was it was very clear that he was also dating other people and wasn't looking, to make me the only person he dated. Now, mind you, we didn't have a conversation. We only went out a couple of times, right? But then I turned around and told him in a text message, I know, whatever, don't judge me, that, I really like you, think you're a great guy, but I'm not looking for a friends with benefits situation. And if I did that, I might miss out on somebody who wants the same things that I do.
And you're setting boundaries. You're not
Yeah.
saying you have to be in a relationship with me. You're just saying this isn't what I want. So and I do think I want to talk about boundaries for a second. Boundaries are not telling someone what they can and can't do. Boundaries are saying, this is not what I want. I will not accept this.
Right.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to address it. If that's something that you choose not to address, then I have to address my own limits and say, then this isn't something that I want to be involved in.
Which is easier. I don't think it's easy. It's easier to do from the get-go. Like, I liked this person.
Yeah, it's hard when you're already involved.
And I could have, hey, Brittany, girl, listen. I could have been like, it's okay. He's going to come around because I'm the one. And believe me when I say that was my first thought.
Yeah.
It's like, he'll change his mind. But no, I just said, and his response was, ouch. And I said, I am so sorry. I thought I was being very tactful. And no, he said, I was. What other way do you say that? I just don't think he'd ever heard that.
Yeah, because
He
not a
still
lot of people are
messages me, by the
straight.
way.
Well, that's why people ghost, because they don't want to address how they're actually feeling. They don't want to address what's actually bothering them. So, especially in a newer relationship, it's easier to just stop answering, which I don't think is nice or fair.
On the other side, I appreciate in a painful, not painful, but that he didn't turn around and say, oh, well, I want a relationship with you.
Right.
Because is that genuine? He didn't do that.
No.
He continues to text me. He just checks in. So I don't know what that means, but it doesn't have to mean anything. It's fine. You know what I mean? We're not.
Well, yeah, because if he would have switched up and said, well, actually I want a relationship too, that's where resentment kind of builds, because now he feels, even though that's not what happened, he feels forced into the relationship, even though that's not what occurred. But feelings are real, right? And even though something didn't happen a certain way logically, that doesn't mean that the feeling that someone gets from it isn't valid also. Like even me and my partner, I can be controlling. No. But I really try my hardest to set it up in a way where, like, I don't say you can or can't do this, but I say it in a way like, this makes me feel uncomfortable. And then, but that sometimes that's my trigger, right? But then by me saying that, my partner feels triggered and being like, well, now I feel like you're telling me what to do, which is valid too, even though that's not what's happening. Your emotions are just as strong as logic and facts, because we're driven by emotions, especially as everyone is, but especially as women. I think we are driven by emotions. And so, yeah. That's all I have to say.
That's it. We're done here. But we should turn it around.
I do want to answer Kristen's question.
Oh, yeah. And that's the, yeah.
Okay.
That's a whole episode on its own. Krista could come on.
Oh, yeah. Also, if you guys do want to be a guest on Journeys and Ambitions, email us at journeysambitionsradio@gmail.com. Just Journeys.
We'll put it.
Ambitions.
We'll put it in the comments.
Or you can message us. I'm going to put, there you go.
Also, if you have
message us on all social medias, Journeys Ambitions.
If you need topic suggestions.
Yeah. What do y'all want to hear us talk about? I do want to, where did your question
At some point, we're going to hook up a phone so you can call in and actually.
I have a phone. If you have my personal phone number, you can call me, but I'm not putting it up. If you have it, call me. Kristen asked a question. Let me find it. She said, what do you think about the 3-month dating rule?
Is that the sex rule? Is that a sex rule?
I figured you would know.
I mean, I think I read it, but
there it is. Yeah, let's say that's what it is.
Sex rule? Kristen, is it a sex rule? Can you say sex on YouTube?
We can say whatever we want.
Okay.
We're not making any money, so it's fine.
That's true.
I think I used to be the type of person that would not set any. I was not intentional with who I was giving myself to, in the sense, or like how quickly. Like I was, again, driven by emotion, driven by I'm really attracted to this person. And so I would, if I like you and I've seen you a couple times, I'm going to go ahead and do what I want to do what my body tells me I want to do. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I used to not really see anything wrong with that. And I believe Your body, your choice. Do whatever you want with your body. If you want to hook up with 10 million people, hook up with 10 million people. You know what I'm saying? Be safe, be careful, be honest. But I do, as I've gotten older, do see the value in holding back on those things and not being so quick to jump into bed with somebody, because it does depreciate your value, not to society, but to that person. You know what I'm saying? And this goes for men and women, I think. Because, you know, I think more so if you're being with men, I think men kind of have this. I think if you're a woman dating a man, I do think it is a little more complicated in the sense that, like, or I guess it's more straightforward. Men will value you less because you gave it up too quick. Oh, wait, she said no. Kristen said the
but we're gonna
90-day
talk
trial
about that.
period where a couple tests out a relationship to see if they're compatible. Yeah, I
It
mean,
was
isn't
all over
that?
TikTok. Kristen, I don't.
I'd rather talk about sex.
Well, the whole TikTok. Yeah. I haven't really.
I think that's maybe TikTok is making it a thing, but I think that
Test out
should
a
be a
relation-
thing.
What does that mean? That means that if at the
That
end of
just
90
means
days there's
dating.
no hard feelings, like bye, it didn't work out.
I guess.
Because I know men that just do that on the reg. It's called monkey branching. Have you heard of this?
No.
I looked up relationship terms, not on TikTok, clearly, because I Google things like an old person. I was looking at because I make fun of ghosting, because someone used to tell me I ghost. I'm like, it's not ghosting if I broke up with you and now don't answer you.
Mm-hmm.
It's ghosting when, it's in the middle of the relationship,
And you don't
right?
say anything.
Yeah. So anyway, it's called monkey branching, and this is when you find a new partner before you
End things
with
another partner.
and that's like serial dating, but you don't even break up first. You already have the next one. Like, and you may not.
They call that
You may not
having-
technically cheat, or they call it, like I always said, having someone on the back burner or
they
keeping
call
an
that-
open door.
You know, they call that now having a rasta.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a roster is just like people you.
No, it means you got people lined up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't have one.
I was the type of person that would have a roster. Because I, again, wanted to.
Oh, Shay knows what it is too.
She said contractual courting. But I was the type of
Anybody
person.
want to sign up? I'll do it.
I didn't want to.
For research.
I didn't want to be left with nothing, so I would have a roster so that when things don't work out with this person, I have somebody else lined up. But that is not putting enough hope and value into the relationship you're in. If you already are thinking about what's next, are you really giving the situation you're in your full time and your full energy? And is it going to flourish if you don't do that? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? You're just, okay. I'll keep talking.
My brain was going to other things. Sorry.
But no, I think that is like dating. I think that's what this 90-day whatever rule, or this 3-month rule. I think a lot of people, even though I'm prone to this, jump into relationships too soon because, again, feelings. It feels good. They give me butterflies. They do this, and that for me. Where 3 months, I think, is a good time to see, like, is this person somebody that I can like move forward with? I do think it's really hard to do that and leave with no feelings, though.
Right. I mean,
I don't think that's possible.
Is that I kind of I like the idea of it, I guess. I just think that it leads to can you really know what it's like in 90 days, knowing that you have this, that they'll leave at the end?
I think people are they're
what if they just wanted to continuously just have, 4 girlfriends a year, 4 boyfriends, like just keep going like that?
Right.
And that's not what you want.
And that's not, yeah. Well, and I think also, I already lost my train of thought.
I also want to be more positive as we get close to the end, though, because it is coming up on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And as much as, some of us old bitter ladies can seem like that, I do love love. I would love to be in love. And that's why I'm taking a break, is because I want to be in love and someone to be in love with me, and me to be, I want my other half. I want my best friend. So
yeah,
I would rather be with my girls, with my daughter, with my female best friends until I find that person. So, but I just want to say happy Valentine's Day to those of you who are in healthy, loving relationships. And I hope you have a great Valentine's Day. We're not
Yes.
leaving yet. I just want to say that
Happy Valentine's Day. I remembered what I
before
was
I said
gonna
something snarky.
I remembered what I was gonna say though. Dang it!
Sorry,
You kept talking,
see?
I couldn't get it out. We were talking about
We love each other.
Never mind. Oh, I remember. People have this huge thing like, oh, well, don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. But relationships require time. And if that's your goal, if you want someone to be happy with and to be your best friend and to be with for a long time, you have to dedicate your time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Sure.
and that's why you can't know 90 days, 6 months isn't enough to really know if someone you really like and are into is enough.
Because you just said in 90 days you can be your false self. You can have a false mask.
Right.
If that's your goal.
So people have this whole idea of like,
Or
oh, I don't
maybe-
want to waste my time. I don't want you to waste my time. But if you want a happy, successful relationship, you have to dedicate your time. And you may date someone for 2-3 years and realize this isn't working for me.
I mean,
and there's no shame in leaving that relationship. Like, I don't care how old you are. I don't care whatever, right? Like, just because you stay with somebody because, well, I've been with them for years and it's just easier. Maybe we already live together. Maybe we have bills together, whatever. And you don't want to feel like, oh, I wasted all this time. Okay, you're going to waste more time? Like, that's like kind of when people put off college and they're like, oh, well, I don't have the time. And then 4 years passes by and you're like, well, I could have finished college by now. And what did I do with all that time?
Yeah.
So this idea of time is not forever, but it is abundant. We do, and you need to use the time you have to achieve what you want in life and in relationships.
I don't think it's a waste of, you've heard me say waste of, I don't think it's a waste of time if as long as there were honest intentions.
Right.
So if a man tells me, okay, I'm aligning, I eventually maybe want marriage. I mean, that could be on the table. I want something serious, blah, blah, blah. And after 90 days or 6 months, whatever, it just isn't working.
Mhm.
As long as that wasn't a BS line to just get what, you know what I mean? And it's okay to not work out. It wasn't a waste of time because we found out this relationship isn't going to work.
Yeah, you got the
It's when you
answers
find
needed.
out that, you know, that was just overlooked. And then 6 months later, you know what? I've decided I don't want, you know, now
Yeah.
you've wasted my time because our intentions weren't aligned.
Right. And
So
that's
now
something
I'm
we need
just-
to talk about. Maybe
I'm just putting it
not
out
on the first date. But in the
So-
beginning, as things start to progress, I think people don't want to talk about marriage or kids too soon. But if that's something you want in life and you know for a fact you want that in life, address it sooner in the relationship so you don't waste your time.
As
so
well
that
as
you
if
don't-
it's absolutely something you don't want. When my ex and I split up, he's younger than me. I know that's shocking. And he started dating much younger women
Mhm.
who had not been married, didn't have kids. And I was like, well, do you want more kids other than you? Right. And he says, no, absolutely not. I said, then you need to adjust who you're dating or make that very clear to these women when you're dating them. One of them was like a third grade teacher. I was like, bro,
Yeah.
she wants children,
Yeah.
you know? And so,
Yeah.
No.
So date intentionally. Be honest. As we wrap up the show, I'm just giving some little tips because I'm perfect and I'm a professional and I'm so healthy and not toxic.
right. She gets it from her mother.
You know, I think it's important to go into dating with the right intentions and to be honest and to be upfront. And this is all easier said than done, but I think it requires a lot of self-reflection and pondering, praying, therapy, and figuring out what it is that is best for you. And be kind and be mindful as you bring someone into your life. Those are my last words.
Words of wisdom.
Yes. What about you,
You're so smart.
Jennifer?
I'm done.
You're
I'm just
done?
kidding.
Okay.
I've said everything I need to
Okay.
say.
So yes, if you guys could follow us on all social medias at Journey's Ambitions.
What's our topic next week?
I don't have it in front of me, but we have a great topic for you next week.
We have them
guarantee.
already lined up.
Yes,
on
if you look
YouTube.
on our YouTube channel, we have, and our Facebook, we have all of our upcoming topics on there. This conversation was Sticky Situation in honor of Valentine's Day, talking about relationships and dating. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel.
And if you do leave comments after the fact, or if you're watching this afterwards in the recording, please leave comments and we will get back to them. Or if you have show suggestions or anything else you want to say, like and subscribe. I just said that because I've heard other people say it.
We are on the LV with Val radio station. You can tune in by downloading the LV with Val app or going on lvwithval.com. And that's it. This is Journeys and Ambitions. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.